Okay, my YouTube people, here we are. It's July 5th, 2024, and I'm going to get back on my knuckle and trying to get this thing finished up or close to it. I know I've been saying that probably in every one of the last 3 videos, but that's where it's at. This video is probably going to make a lot of people on the internet go crazy. I need to spread the rear frame apart because I couldn't get the rear tire out when I was taking this apart. It's like it shrunk a little, or it's a little tight. I'm not really sure of the reasoning. Last time I had the tire off was quite a few years ago now, so maybe I had the same problem and maybe I didn't. So stick around and see exactly how I'm going to do that. That's going to be the controversial part. And please, don't forget to like and subscribe. You're getting all this information for free. It's the least you can do. And hit that notification button if you're really into my channel. I appreciate that. That helps out the algorithm, so they say, and it helps me out. So for those of you that don't know what they're looking at, the rear brake drum's not in here right now, and that takes up a little bit more space. And like I said, I had a hard time getting this in and out. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the rear wheel. I already have that on another video, so I'm not going to show that step. And the rear brake's not even in there. The other thing I need to do while I have the rear wheel out, I need to put the new tires onto the rim. I'm going to take this tire off this rim, and then I'm going to mount the new tire on, and I'm going to do this all myself by hand. First thing you got to do is take the valve stem out. And as you heard, there wasn't much air in it. I only run 8 pounds. There definitely wasn't 8 in that. It was probably flat. Then I use these ProMotion Heavy Duty Bead Pro spoons. To break it off, you put this one into the bead, this one into the bead, and then you push them together and it spreads it apart and gets it off the bead. And then the spoon ends let you get the tire off the rim. It also has these 2 plastic pieces to protect the rim. So I'll put these 2 boards down first to protect the hub. You can see I already got them on in there, and I got it started off the rim. And there you go. I got it off the rim. On the one side, now you have to do the other side. When I do this, I normally spray some soapy water. It's just dish soap and water. And there you heard it. And there it is, broke off both sides. So now, put one of these protectors on here. Come in with the spoon. You have to make sure that on the other side of the wheel, that it's down in this groove where the spokes are. That gives it enough room to come up over the lip. It comes over the lip just like this. Now, I was always taught you never bend this more than 90 degrees. That way, if you have the tube, you don't pinch it. I'm going to put the next protector on. Before I go any further, I'm going to spray a little more soapy water. And there you go, I have it started. Come right here, try to take it in small bites, like that. And once I hit one more, it should pop right off. And that should pretty much do it. And there you go. So the one side's off. Now I take these protectors out. Reach up in here, I grab the tube, I'm going to pull it out of the way so I don't pinch it. like that. Just going to leave it right there like that. When I go to this side, I kind of just go down through the tire, through the rim, and just give it a pull like that. It should be relatively easy to get this off, hopefully. Sometimes you could just pop them right out. And there you have it. That should pretty much come out. I'm just going to give it a tug with my hands. Like that. So there it is. I have the tire off the rim. You can see there's some rust in there. When I do this for the final time, I'm going to take the center band off. I'll wire wheel this and then paint it with some silver paint or some black paint to stop the rust. You can see the tube even has a little rust on it too. I want to explain the reason why I'm going down the path of taking the rim off and trying the tire on as you're watching. I originally had a fatter rear tire on this thing, and it was very, very close to the fender on the chain side. I measured the amount that I thought the wheel needed to be moved over to the right side of the bike. And then I had the spokes adjusted accordingly to move the rim over towards the right side of the bike to center the wheel a little more. And I went out and bought this new tire. It's a Coker tire, but it ends up being really narrow, and I don't like the look of it under the back of the bike at all. The front tire is much wider than the back, and that even makes the narrow tire look worse. I went and bought from Coker 2 of these Firestone repops, and they're wider than both the tires, so it should fill out that fender a lot better. But the issue with this is going to be is the wheel, will it be spaced properly in the rear fender with the fatter tire? I have to put the tire on the rim to decide whether the wheel will need to be moved left or right to center it in the fender and have everything look good. So that's what you're watching here. This is a long exercise with a lot of work just to make sure that the bike looks right when I'm done. And I hope that most people do that. I do it with everything I touch. I can't let stuff like this go without it looking the way I want it to look. So now I'll take one of these tires out of the package. I think you'll be able to see right away that these tires are wider than the one I took off before I even put air in them. These are the Firestone. The size is the 5/16 4-ply. And then there's the part number for it. So you can see right there that the new one's wider than the old one, and it doesn't even have air in it and gets shaped a little better yet. Okay, so now I'll get it back on there to give it a test fit. First thing I want to do is spray it with some soapy water. This tire does not have a direction, so that's a non-issue. I just like to kind of jam them down in there a little first and see if I can't get a spoon and just pull it over. Yep, it seems unconventional, and I'm sure it is. Okay, there's the one side in. Now I'm going to put the tube in. Now I got the tube in. It's got to get the valve poking out the other side here. Alright, now I have the valve stem out. Now I just need to get the other side of the tire and the rim together. Want to be careful here not to pinch the tube, because this is the spot you'll do it. Don't go past 90. And this is just kind of how I do it. I just work it around like this. You want to push down. It's important that the bead of the tire is down in the where the spoke part of the rim is. Gives it the room it needs to slip on. But this is about as easy as a tire installs I've ever done. Normally I'm doing them on dirt bike tires, and they're not easy. Okay, so there it is back on. Now I'll put some air in it and seat the bead. When you put air in it, you don't want the Schrader valve in the valve stem. I just put air in the tire and put both beads up onto the rim. I can see one slipped off, so now I'm going to put the Schrader valve in. Okay, I can see this side went on. I'm going to pick it up and check the other. The other side went on. I'm not sure if you can see that. This tire is wider than this one was. Just needs to be run a little bit, and it'll squish out on the sidewalls a little bit as I run it. This tire also says Coker Classic 5/16. These are pretty easy to mount. You just have to put it up on that spacer, and normally the brake drum would also be on that spacer. The tire is very, very close to the fender here on the right side. Then with the left side, you can see how big the gap is over here. But the problem is the fender kicks in right here. And this gap here is only about the tip of my finger wide. So I basically have to bring the rim over this amount here, minus very, very little, to get it over to where it needs to be. So right here, I can get one finger in there, pretty much. So when I bring it over to the left, this kick out right here is going to be the first thing that comes in contact with the tire. And I can get my finger in there pretty good, but I want to measure this distance from the fender to the tire, and that's the amount I want to bring it over, just not quite so much that it hits the tire. But I want to try and take as much of that up as I can. Here's the problem. Before I take that measurement, I want to put the axle in to make sure that the wheel is in the right spot. And I have to put this spacer in. This spacer goes in like you see it here, but I cannot get it in here. It's just an ever so slight amount too tight to just get in like it should go in relatively easy. So I have to spread this frame apart just a little bit to make that happen. Now I'm going to force this in just so I can do this measurement, and then you'll see me spread the frame. And once the brake drum's in, it makes this even a little tighter. Okay, so there it is. You can see how tough that was to do, and it shouldn't be that tough. And with, like I said, with the brake drum in, it makes it even harder. So now I'll put the axle in. Alright, now the axle's in. One other thing I need to do before I make that measurement is make sure that the axle is straight side to side, because if the wheel's cocked this way, then it would be closer here, and if the wheel's cocked this way, it's further away. But you want to make sure it's straight and then take that measurement. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to measure out where this is 1 inch, the other side's 1 inch, then I'll push the rim forward and then check it. So of course you could use a ruler here to do this. I just happen to have my veneer calipers handy, so I'm using those. Okay, this one's at 1 inch. So when spacing this tire, you have to make sure that the axle is straight side to side, because that'll cause the wheel to do this, and that'll cause the front and the back to be off. The other thing is you want to look at it off the center of the frame and off the center of the fender. Now my fender is centered properly in the frame. I want to make sure I want to line the center of the tire up. So now that I have it centered up, I want to measure that gap. Again, you could easily do this with a ruler. I'm just going to do it with a veneer caliper because that's what I have. The other thing is you want to make sure you have the wheel back to the fattest part of the tire so that you get an accurate measurement. You don't want to take a measurement back here, make your adjustment, and then all of a sudden the fat part of the tire hits the fender. So that's the distance there. It's the inside of the fender to the fattest part of the tire. That distance winds up being a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to try and bring that rim over a 1/2 inch or something close to that. The way you do that is you tighten the spokes on this side, you loosen them on that side. That'll pull the rim over to the left or the hub over to the right, whatever way you want to think about it. And that'll take up that space that I want it to take up. So now I have the measurements that I want. I need to take this back off the rim. The reason you have to take the tire back off is because when you adjust the nipples for the spokes, the spoke could protrude through the nipple, and that could cause a problem with your tube. It could poke holes in your tube, so you want to take the tire back off. Now onto the part that's going to freak out some people on the internet. It's the spreading of this frame. I figure I need about 1/4 inch spread, and that'll get me the space I need to work with the rear wheel and not having to be struggling the whole time. First thing I do is take an outside to outside measurement from axle plate to axle plate. Now I'm going to spread it out to 9 1/4. Okay, so now I got a screw jack in there. I'm double checking my measurement, and it's 9 1/8. I'm going to try to go 9 1/4, see what that looks like. Alright, let's see where we're... Alright, now see where we're at. I know there's going to be some spring back. Okay, right now that's at 9.5, so let's see how much it springs back. Now the jack doesn't have any pressure on it. Let's see where we're at. And it sprung back the entire way. It's right back to where it was. Check it again. Alright, it's out to 10 inches this time. That's a full inch. Take it back and see where it's at. Right there, it's at 9 1/4. So that's what I was looking for. That was easy enough. So this is where we're at. I got the rear rim moved a 1/2 inch over towards the sprocket side, or the left side of the bike. And while I was at it, I painted the rear rim because it was in real rough shape. I did take some sandpaper and sand the rim and get some of the loose paint off and then repaint it. It come up pretty nice. The other thing I did was wire brush. There was some little bit of rust here, and I wire brushed that rust off and was able to paint the inside so it looks real nice. So now I'm going to put the strap in, put the tube in the tire, and get the tire back onto the rim. I'm not going to show you that since that's pretty straightforward and I have that in another video. I got the tire back on the rim. Now I'm going to stick it on the back of the bike and see how I like the spacing. It went in quite a bit easier after spreading that frame a little bit, so I'm sure once I put the brake drum on, it should be no issue now. If I check it with the tape measure, right there it's about 7/8. And right there, it's almost to 7/8. So I'm pretty happy with the spacing. So that's the spacing of the rear wheel. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And check out the rest of my videos as they come along.